fast-moving object the size of Manhattan is hurtling towards our solar system, and it will make its closest pass to Earth.
Tonight on The Future of Everything, we've got 3i Atlas updates and maybe even our best shot yet to clearly see the third interstellar object ever detected passing through our solar system.
For months, astronomers had been keeping a cautious eye on the strange interstellar object known as 3i Atlas, the third confirmed visitor from beyond our solar system. It had been discovered streaking through the darkness on an unusual trajectory, one that betrayed its alien origin. A wanderer cast adrift from another star system. But as NASA's instruments turned toward it again, something extraordinary occurred. Hidden objects previously unseen suddenly emerged behind 3i Atlas. The revelation sent shockwaves through the astronomical community. It was as if the depths of space had decided to whisper a new secret, one cloaked in mystery and defying every expectation about what an interstellar visitor could bring with it. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The initial detection came from a set of deep space surveillance arrays and wide-field telescopes scanning the region trailing 3i Atlas. NASA's data analysts, accustomed to filtering cosmic noise and transient artifacts, noticed a peculiar pattern of reflected light inconsistent with the comet's known tail and outgassing activity. These weren't typical fragments breaking off a cometary body. Instead, they seemed to move with deliberate coordination, maintaining formation behind the object. When the data were processed further, the resulting images revealed multiple compact masses, faint metallic-looking bodies following the comet's exact trajectory, as if tethered by some invisible thread. The discovery forced scientists to revisit the assumptions surrounding 3i Atlas itself. Like its predecessors, Oumuamua and 2I/Borisov, it had already been classified as an interstellar object, but now it appeared to be part of something far more complex. The objects trailing it could not be dismissed as random debris or simple ice fragments. Their consistent motion and unusual reflectivity suggested a level of structure and composition far different from the expected mixture of dust, rock, and volatile ices. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, working in tandem with the European Space Agency, immediately began analyzing the orbital data to determine whether the smaller bodies were gravitationally bound to the main object or merely coincidentally aligned. Spectroscopic readings deepened the mystery. The reflected spectra indicated signatures that did not correspond neatly to natural materials like silicates, carbonaceous compounds, or nickel-iron metals. Instead, some readings hinted at alloys and elements arranged in ratios more consistent with manufactured rather than natural origins. The possibility of artificiality was not spoken aloud at first, but within internal NASA communications, it was impossible to ignore. The sheer symmetry of the hidden objects suggested purpose, a design rather than chaos. For decades, the notion that interstellar visitors could carry with them more than dust and rock had existed only in theory. The appearance of these hidden companions shattered the boundary between speculation and observable reality. The faint light patterns suggested shapes that could not easily be described as natural. Smooth surfaces, geometric angles, and even signs of energy reflection inconsistent with a tumbling asteroid or comet fragment. Some scientists proposed that these could be dormant probes or remnants of a once active mechanism designed to monitor interstellar environments. Others warned against leaping to conclusions, insisting that nature, when observed closely enough, could produce remarkable symmetry on its own. NASA's Deep Space Network trained multiple antennas on the objects, attempting to detect any form of radio emission. The first results were inconclusive: background radiation, cosmic hiss, and solar interference. But buried within the data was a repeating signal pattern that did not correspond to any known astrophysical source. The sequence repeated every 37 minutes, then abruptly ceased, as if responding to observation. Though the signal's origin could not be confirmed, its timing aligned perfectly with the rotation period of one of the smaller objects. The finding ignited quiet debates behind closed doors. Was this a natural magnetic interaction or something deliberately generated? As days passed, 3i Atlas continued its voyage through the outer solar system, carrying its enigmatic followers. NASA's optical gravitational lensing experiment captured clearer imagery, revealing that the hidden objects occasionally adjusted their relative positions. Their motion appeared to maintain a dynamic equilibrium, as if compensating for changes in trajectory or the solar wind's influence. This kind of coordinated motion baffled every computer model attempting to simulate it. No known physical mechanism for such synchronized behavior existed among natural debris fields. It seemed to imply a level of responsiveness that was eerily intentional. The implications rippled through the scientific world. If these hidden companions were natural, then humanity had stumbled upon a new category of interstellar phenomena, perhaps clusters of material bound together by unknown electromagnetic effects. If they were artificial, however, the event represented the first tangible evidence of extraterrestrial technology, drifting silently between stars. Either possibility redefined humanity's understanding of the universe. For those studying planetary formation, this could mean that star systems routinely eject complex material clusters, carrying fragments of their technological or geological history across light years. For others, it raised the question of whether these travelers were mere relics or messengers. NASA's data visualization team reconstructed the relative movement between the objects and 3I Atlas using real-time tracking from multiple observatories. What they found astonished even the most skeptical researchers. The smaller objects seemed to align periodically into a triangular configuration before dispersing again. This rhythmic formation was not random. It repeated at intervals matching the object's rotational dynamics. Some speculated it could be a stabilizing pattern, like a natural dance of gravitation and magnetism. Others saw something more: the precision of intent, the quiet fingerprint of intelligence hidden within cosmic motion. The phenomenon reignited public fascination with interstellar visitors. For the first time, the mystery of 3I Atlas wasn't confined to scientific journals. It captured the imagination of millions worldwide. Artists depicted glowing fleets trailing the comet, while theorists debated whether the hidden objects might contain dormant nanostructures, or perhaps data storage units drifting through the dark void of interstellar space. The scientific community, meanwhile, tightened its focus on the raw data, eager to extract every measurable clue before the objects passed beyond reach. Infrared imaging conducted by the James Webb Space Telescope added another layer of intrigue. It detected faint thermal emissions from the trailing bodies, temperatures far too consistent to be random. While typical cometary debris showed irregular heat distribution caused by uneven sunlight absorption, these objects radiated evenly, maintaining an almost mechanical steadiness. That uniformity defied expectations. If these were merely fragments, they should tumble erratically and exhibit variable heat signatures. Instead, they behaved like entities maintaining orientation relative to both the comet and the sun. Astrophysicists debated whether the objects might be remnants of a long-lost interstellar civilization, devices built to study the cosmos, abandoned when their creators vanished. Others considered them the product of a natural phenomenon unknown to humanity, perhaps self-organizing magnetic clusters capable of coherence across immense distances. Whatever the explanation, the discovery represented a shift in how scientists viewed cosmic visitors. No longer were interstellar objects mere curiosities. They were carriers of secrets, possibly even technologies, older than the sun itself. NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office monitored the situation closely, not out of fear of impact, but out of sheer scientific necessity. If these objects were truly physical and following a precise path, their study could reveal new information about how matter travels across the galaxy. They could even carry isotopic compositions never before seen in our solar system. Plans were drafted to redirect deep space probes to gather long-range data as 3I Atlas made its outbound journey. Every fragment of telemetry could hold the key to understanding how these mysterious companions formed or were forged. One of the more surprising aspects of the phenomenon was the apparent electromagnetic coupling between 3I Atlas and its followers. Magnetometers detected fluctuations synchronized between the main body and the smaller objects, as if a shared field connected them. Such an interaction hinted at complex internal structures within the comet, possibly metallic cores or conductive pathways. It was as if the object carried a hidden network beneath its icy crust, communicating silently with the entities behind it. This was not the behavior of a simple frozen rock. It resembled a coordinated system, a cosmic mechanism designed to operate across space and time. The implications reach deep into theoretical physics. If the hidden objects were bound through non-gravitational means, it suggested that interstellar environments could host stable electromagnetic systems capable of persisting for millions of years. Such formations could act as natural transmitters or energy reservoirs, perhaps even as conduits for communication across interstellar distances. For those daring enough to speculate, 3I Atlas was no longer merely an interstellar visitor. It was a carrier, possibly part of an ancient network of self-replicating machines dispersing across galaxies, studying and mapping them quietly. NASA's simulations of the object's origin pointed toward a distant region of the Milky Way, possibly near the Lyra constellation, though the uncertainty margins were enormous. The sheer improbability of its trajectory, coupled with the precision of its motion, left open the question of whether it had been deliberately sent, even if nature alone had sculpted it. The complexity of its accompanying bodies represented a new frontier in cosmic behavior. The line between natural and artificial blurred more with each observation. The discovery also ignited philosophical discussions within scientific circles. The realization that humanity might not be alone, or that nature itself could imitate intelligence so perfectly, forced a re-evaluation of the assumptions about life, technology, and the universe's structure. Some researchers proposed that advanced civilizations might have seeded objects like 3I Atlas across galaxies as automated observers, each carrying encoded records of cosmic history. Others suggested that such formations could be the remains of ancient spacefaring debris, caught in a slow drift through time, preserving the memory of extinct worlds. The physical scale of the hidden companions was modest, ranging from tens to hundreds of meters in diameter, but their impact on human understanding was monumental. The geometric regularity of their positioning led some to hypothesize that they functioned as nodes in a formation, capable of relaying energy or data across short interstellar distances. If this were true, 3I Atlas might be more than a solitary traveler. It could be part of a greater structure, an interstellar chain stretching unseen across light years. High-frequency radar mapping attempted to pierce the veil surrounding the objects, but the reflections came back strangely muted. The surfaces seemed to absorb rather than scatter radar waves, as though coated with a material that dampened electromagnetic interaction. This hinted at the presence of exotic compounds or engineered surfaces, something designed to minimize detectability. For some, this was further evidence of artificiality. For others, it underscored how little was known about the materials that formed beyond the solar system. As the weeks passed, the motion of the hidden objects began to show subtle variations, almost like pulsations. Their spacing expanded slightly before contracting again, maintaining symmetry while shifting distance. Models suggested these oscillations might correspond to changes in solar radiation pressure or electromagnetic resonance. But another interpretation gained quiet traction among theorists: the possibility that these were signals, encoded responses to the changing environment. If that were true, humanity was witnessing not merely motion but communication between entities traveling through the cosmic dark. NASA's Astrophysical Division faced a profound challenge: how to interpret an event that straddled the line between science and the unknown. Every test, every spectral scan raised more questions. The deeper they looked, the less sense traditional explanations made. Yet in that confusion lay the wonder of discovery, the realization that space was not a static void, but a theater of infinite complexity. 3I Atlas had become a symbol of that mystery, a cosmic riddle carrying a trail of silent watchers behind it. The emotional impact on the scientific community was undeniable. Researchers accustomed to cold data and detached reasoning found themselves confronting awe, curiosity, and a trace of fear. The possibility that humanity was observing technology from beyond its own world, or even beyond its comprehension, was both exhilarating and unsettling. It challenged every assumption about humanity's uniqueness and its place in the cosmic order. The universe, once thought vast but empty, now seemed vibrantly alive with possibility. Some scientists argued that the hidden companions might have once served as propulsion modules, fragments of a larger construct that disassembled as it entered the solar system. Their positioning could reflect residual control systems still functioning after eons of dormancy. If true, 3I Atlas could have been an interstellar vessel of sorts, its purpose long forgotten, its mechanism still whispering across space. Others envisioned a natural phenomenon so elegant it appeared designed, the product of physics operating on scales too grand for human understanding. Regardless of interpretation, the revelation forced a rethinking of how cosmic surveillance would proceed in the future. NASA began reconfiguring deep space observation protocols, adjusting algorithms to detect similar hidden companions around other fast-moving interstellar bodies. The tools used to dismiss anomalies as noise were now being repurposed to find them. A new discipline began to take shape: interstellar archaeology, the study of objects that might carry the fingerprints of distant origins across the stars. The public's fascination only deepened as high-resolution renders of the event circulated online. Artists and theorists speculated that the hidden objects might contain microstructures encoded with information, or that they represented a kind of interstellar seed meant to activate when encountering electromagnetic signatures of a developed civilization. The notion that something beyond Earth might have intentionally left these traces became a point of cultural reflection. Humanity was forced to confront not just scientific implications, but existential ones. The possibility that its first confirmed contact might come not in the form of a message, but a mystery. As 3I Atlas drifted toward the edge of the solar system, the trailing objects gradually dimmed in visibility. Their patterns, though still traceable, began to fade into the cosmic background. Yet the data already collected would keep researchers busy for decades. The trajectories, light curves, and electromagnetic signatures remained, a permanent record of an encounter that changed how humanity viewed the interstellar unknown. The event underscored how little was truly understood about what moved between the stars. For NASA, the revelation reaffirmed the purpose of exploration: to uncover the unseen and to expand the limits of perception. The hidden objects behind 3I Atlas became more than a scientific curiosity. They became a mirror reflecting humanity's thirst for understanding. Whether natural or artificial, they stood as proof that the universe still held secrets capable of humbling even the most advanced observers. They reminded humanity that knowledge is not a fixed state, but a horizon that recedes with every step forward. The discovery's implications extended far beyond astrophysics. It touched on philosophy, theology, and the very nature of consciousness. If intelligent design was at play, it meant that humanity was not the first to reach for the stars. If it was a natural process, it demonstrated that the cosmos was capable of complexity so profound it could mimic intelligence. Either conclusion reshaped how existence itself was understood. The hidden companions of 3I Atlas became a cosmic riddle written in motion and light, inviting endless contemplation. As the mysterious caravan of 3I Atlas and its trailing companions drifted farther into the solar frontier, the deeper implications of their discovery began to settle into the scientific consciousness like a slow awakening. Observatories across the globe, from Mauna Kea to Paranal, coordinated nightly to record every flicker, every spectral nuance, every minute alteration in velocity and composition. Data poured in faster than it could be analyzed, forming a growing tapestry of evidence that something extraordinary was taking place. The more astronomers studied the ensemble, the clearer it became that this was no random collection of fragments. The structure of the entire configuration followed a rhythm that suggested precision, an underlying law or purpose hidden beneath its drifting silence. Even within NASA's inner circles, quiet factions began forming among the researchers. Some favored conservative interpretations, arguing that all appearances of structure were emergent properties of magnetic turbulence or self-organizing plasma fields, phenomena still poorly understood in interstellar contexts. Yet others, bolder and unwilling to dismiss the extraordinary, proposed that the objects could be remnants of an engineered system so ancient that its creators were long gone, leaving behind their artifacts like cosmic fossils. The evidence for either case seemed tantalizing but incomplete, and that incompleteness became its own form of gravity, drawing minds ever deeper into speculation. New data from the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory revealed that as 3I Atlas passed through fluctuating solar wind zones, the smaller bodies seemed to respond in coordinated fashion. They shifted positions, subtly compensating for the changes in pressure and magnetic polarity. No simple cloud of debris could behave so coherently. It was as if each object contained an awareness of its place within the formation, maintaining balance through feedback mechanisms invisible to human eyes. The phenomenon redefined how astronomers thought about self-regulating systems in deep space. Perhaps they mused intelligence could exist not as living organisms, but as dynamic constellations of matter and energy, networks that operated by principles so far beyond human biology that they were nearly indistinguishable from nature itself. Theoretical astrophysicists at Caltech proposed that the hidden objects might represent an exotic form of distributed intelligence. In this hypothesis, 3I Atlas functioned as a central node or anchor, coordinating the motion of the others through electromagnetic resonance. Over immense timescales, such a system could evolve to adapt, repair, or replicate itself by harvesting material from the interstellar medium. If so, what humanity had just glimpsed was not a random visitor, but a living machine, an entity spanning hundreds of meters, traversing the galaxy with the patience of eons. Such an idea defied the limits of current imagination, yet it fit the evidence in ways no simpler explanation could. Meanwhile, deep space monitoring arrays captured fluctuations in the local plasma field trailing the object. The density of charged particles appeared to fluctuate rhythmically, as though modulated by an unseen force. Those patterns bore faint mathematical symmetry, ratios that echoed the harmonics of Fibonacci sequences and prime intervals. Though many scientists dismissed it as coincidence, others found the alignment too elegant to ignore. If natural, it would be one of the most extraordinary coincidences ever observed. If not, it hinted at a communication system so old and subtle that humanity was only now beginning to perceive its structure. In the public imagination, the mystery of 3I Atlas became something greater than astronomy. It became a mirror reflecting humanity's hunger to find meaning beyond itself. Talk shows, documentaries, and late-night conversations all returned to the same unspoken question: what if the universe was not silent? The possibility that something ancient and aware might have passed near Earth's neighborhood unsettled and thrilled in equal measure. Artists painted surreal depictions of glittering machines drifting through starlight. Poets wrote of forgotten travelers who carried the memory of dead civilizations. Even those unmoved by cosmic speculation felt a faint stirring of wonder, the sense that perhaps the night sky was not as empty as it appeared. As more instruments came online, the complexity of the system grew apparent. Each of the hidden objects emitted faint infrared glows in synchronized intervals, a pulse that cycled like a heartbeat across hours. The sequence was irregular, yet consistent enough to suggest intention. Observers proposed that these energy emissions might serve as a stabilization mechanism, maintaining spacing by releasing stored heat or charged particles in response to environmental shifts. But the synchrony of these emissions across multiple independent objects raised a profound question. How could they remain coordinated over such distances? Unless linked by an underlying network, the timing seemed impossible. Some theorists began to describe 3I Atlas and its companions not as discrete entities but as components of a single organism, a structure that spanned hundreds of kilometers yet behaved as one. The interstellar void, once imagined as lifeless, could harbor forms of existence radically different from Earth's biology. Life need not breathe, eat, or think as humans did. It might instead organize through magnetism, geometry, and energy flows. The objects could represent a form of cosmic autopoiesis, a self-sustaining pattern that maintained coherence across the vacuum. Such an interpretation turned conventional biology inside out, but it aligned with growing evidence that complexity could arise from any system capable of feedback and adaptation. Within NASA's Communications Analysis Division, a team of cryptologists was quietly tasked with examining the repeating radio bursts associated with the phenomenon. These bursts, once dismissed as interference, contained peculiar modulations that mirrored the motion of the smaller bodies. The analysts detected structures within the noise, patterns that repeated not in a linguistic sense, but through mathematical relationships. It was as if information were encoded not in words or binary signals, but in the timing of energy variations themselves. If it was a language, it was one written in the grammar of resonance and motion, beyond the comprehension of any human syntax. Elsewhere, philosophers of science debated the implications for consciousness itself. If 3I Atlas's trailing entities exhibited coordination and responsiveness, Could they be said to possess awareness? Could consciousness exist without biology, distributed through fields and forces rather than neurons? The idea that awareness might not be confined to organic life reshaped centuries of thought about intelligence. The cosmos could teem with minds unlike ours, slow, vast, and enduring, communicating through magnetism rather than sound, perceiving the universe in rhythms of light and plasma instead of vision or touch. Astronomers observed a curious phenomenon as the object moved beyond the orbit of Saturn. The smaller companions began to dim in optical wavelengths while increasing their emissions in ultraviolet spectra. The shift suggested a form of adaptation, as though compensating for decreasing solar illumination by altering reflective properties. In laboratory simulations, researchers found that similar spectral shifts could result from active surface processes, perhaps reorientation of molecular layers or controlled ionization. Such responses, if natural, represented a level of material complexity unseen in known comets or asteroids. If engineered, they pointed to technology capable of self-adjustment at the atomic scale. Deep within NASA's archives, some drew parallels to ancient theoretical models proposed decades earlier. Concepts like von Neumann probes, self-replicating machines that could spread across galaxies, exploring and recording without end. If such probes existed, they would likely be disguised as natural bodies to avoid detection. Their activity might appear only under specific environmental triggers. The alignment of these ideas with the behavior of 3I, Atlas's companions, stirred both excitement and unease. Perhaps what humanity had witnessed was a dormant machine awakening briefly under sunlight, adjusting itself before returning to hibernation on its eternal journey. Speculation aside, the scientific consequences were staggering. The presence of structured metallic components in an interstellar object forced reconsideration of planetary formation models. It implied that complex metallurgical processes could occur in deep space, or that ancient civilizations elsewhere had long ago begun dispersing their creations into the void. Either explanation broadened the scope of cosmic history beyond human comprehension. The galaxy was no longer a collection of isolated star systems. It was a continuum of interaction, where the remnants of one world could drift unseen into the skies of another. As the research expanded, engineers examined how the objects maintained such stability. The gravitational influence of 3I Atlas was insufficient to keep them bound at their observed spacing. That meant other forces, possibly electromagnetic attraction or charge equilibrium, were at work. By studying these interactions, scientists hoped to develop new propulsion or stabilization technologies for human-made spacecraft. Already, theoretical proposals emerged for systems that could mimic these dynamics, allowing future missions to maintain formation flight without fuel. In this way, the cosmic visitor offered not only mystery, but inspiration. Its unknown mechanisms could become blueprints for the next stage of human exploration. Amid the technical investigations, a deeper, quieter realization began to form among those closest to the data. The universe, they thought, might not be chaotic after all. Perhaps every interstellar traveler carried within it the imprint of a larger order, a hidden geometry connecting distant worlds. 3I Atlas had not merely appeared. It had revealed a glimpse of that order, a whisper of cosmic design that transcended language. For the first time, humanity saw itself not as isolated observers, but as participants in a living network stretching across the stars. Months passed, and as the object receded from solar influence, its behavior changed once more. The smaller companions began to drift slightly closer together, merging their reflected light into elongated patterns that pulsed intermittently. Astronomers theorized that this contraction signified an energy conservation phase, a form of hibernation before interstellar transit. The magnetic field surrounding the formation intensified briefly, forming a faint sheath detectable by long-range magnetometers. The field's structure resembled a spiral lattice, an architecture so precise that it appeared sculpted. Within that magnetic cocoon, the objects moved in perfect unity, as if preparing for a journey beyond reach. Scientists calculated that the ensemble would soon cross the heliopause, entering the vast interstellar medium where the sun's influence ends. Once beyond, detection would become nearly impossible. Every instrument was trained to capture as much as possible before the moment of departure. The last data streams showed a subtle but unmistakable burst of electromagnetic energy, a flare unlike any known natural emission. It lasted just 6 seconds and contained within its spectrum the entire range from radio to gamma frequencies. The event defied categorization. Some believed it was a parting reaction to the solar environment. Others suspected it was a deliberate discharge, perhaps a form of propulsion or transmission. Whatever it was, it marked the final visible act of the phenomenon. Even as it vanished into darkness, the questions it left behind refused to fade. In university lecture halls and late-night observatories, discussions of 3I Atlas became synonymous with the boundaries of human understanding. It represented the threshold between the known and the unknowable, a symbol of both humility and possibility. For centuries, humanity had looked outward seeking signs of life. Perhaps it had already found them, not in the form of voices or vessels, but in a silent procession of matter whose design was its message. As the event matured in the collective memory, deeper analysis of the data revealed subtle correlations that had gone unnoticed in the initial excitement. The spacing between the hidden objects followed harmonic ratios corresponding to orbital resonances, fractions commonly found in planetary systems. Yet here, they existed in open space, without gravitational centers. It was as though the formation encoded an echo of celestial mechanics, as if imitating the structure of solar systems on a miniature scale. To some researchers, this suggested that the objects could be repositories of cosmological information, recordings of stellar environments they had once visited encoded through physical spacing rather than language. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on NASA revealing hidden objects behind 3I Atlas? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.